Today we're going to explore why the small wins that you get feel meaningless, and how and why it's so important that we start to celebrate the progress that we're making, no matter how small it is. I'm your host, Daniel James, a mindset and high performance coach, and my mission is simple. I want to give you the information that I wish that I'd had sooner to help you wherever you are on your journey. So, your brain likes to dismiss small wins as not real progress. You're doing good, you're feeling great, and then suddenly that little voice will come out the woodwork and it will say, yeah, but you only did this many steps, you only made the bed, you only took your vitamins, it's not that big, is it? And then what happens is that negative voice starts to get a bit louder, and then we start to self-sabotage because we're like, actually, yes, what's the point? I'm never going to reach that big goal. So then we stop. But the key thing here is that every time that you keep a small little promise to yourself, you're actually breaking decades worth of letting yourself down, because this is the problem. When it comes to you achieving whatever it is that you want, whatever transformation you want in your life, the issue is that for years, if you've been letting yourself down, you don't trust that you can do the things that you need to do to get that result that you want. So what happens is you talk yourself out of it because, oh, yes, actually it's too hard, it's too difficult. But you don't actually realize that the small things are the big things. Meaning that these small little things that you're doing, they are the small things that create the big things. The wall behind me, for example, one brick at a time. But if the builder was just like, oh, it's only one brick, what's the point? The wall would never get built. And this is the difference between people that actually get lasting change and those that get stuck in the cycle. They understand the power of the small wins. And the power of the small wins isn't the actual activity that you're doing, which may be quite small. It's the power that that brings in actually starting to rewire your brain. So let's dive into 3 key things that we can learn and discover about the power of these small wins. Well, the first thing is to recognize that we want to celebrate the pattern interrupt, not the action. And this is going to be a theme for today. We're not celebrating the action because the action is often small. And right now we're talking about celebrating the pattern interrupt, because it's not about making the bed. It's about rewiring that decades-long pattern of you saying you're going to do something and then you don't follow through. It's about every single night when you got in that bed and you were like, oh, God, it's messy again tonight. I really like a nice made bed. Well, do you know what, tomorrow I'll make it. And then you don't. And it doesn't seem like much. Just like making it doesn't seem like much, but all of these small promises that you break to yourself, all of these times you say you're going to do something you don't, that is the thing that kills your progress, because you now have no confidence. You don't have the confidence in yourself to do the thing. You don't trust yourself. And you don't trust yourself because you can't keep small promises to yourself. So why do you then think you can keep this big promise to yourself when you say you're going to be successful, when you say you're going to lose 50 pounds? Because you've never done it before. You can't do the small things, and the small things are the big things, because every single small promise that you keep breaks that pattern. It breaks that pattern. You're literally rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. You're becoming somebody else. So imagine that you've been walking down this path, and the path seems like it's going in a straight line, but it's not. It's one of those paths where it actually loops you back to where you started. So you're just constantly in this cycle. And every time you say, do you know what? I'm going to do this new thing. And you stick to it and you keep to it. You're then forging a new path. You're breaking a path. You're showing yourself what is possible. And that's what we're focusing on. It's not the action. Getting some steps in, going to the gym, reading, meditating, eating healthy food, not having a takeaway, making a bed, drinking some water. They're small things. We're not bothered about the action. It's the principle behind it. And the principle behind it is that you are disrupting the pattern. You are doing something that you don't normally do. So the second follow-on from this is we want to then recognize the ripple effect. Because these small wins, these small promises that you keep to yourself, it creates momentum. And the analogy I use with this is, imagine a nice still bit of water and you drop a tiny pebble in that water. It then creates ripple effects. And these ripples, that one ripple when it's landed, creates another ripple. And that's what we want. These little actions breed more action, because things in motion tend to stay in motion. So once you start with that first act, that first promise to yourself, it's easier to keep that momentum going. And that's the power of starting small, because when you start small, it makes it easy for you to carry on. And this is sometimes where people talk about, when it comes to doing work, they say, do the big bit of work first. For me, that doesn't work. For me, I've got to do a few small little tasks to build the momentum to then hit that big task. But that's just me. So maybe this way of doing it's going to help you. Maybe you're not someone that can go from a standing start to then suddenly uplifting your entire life and changing your habits overnight. Most people can't. So this is where it comes from. You have to rebuild that relationship with yourself, and it starts with small positive actions that just start to rewire the brain. But once again, we're not celebrating the actions. We're celebrating becoming the person that can do the things we know we need to do. We're celebrating becoming a person that keeps their word. That's the goal. We're becoming the person that can generate positive momentum. Keyword, generate. We generate that momentum. So sometimes when we're struggling with motivation, it's realizing that we can generate momentum. We can generate motivation by just doing small tasks. Because once you've made the bed, it's easier to drink the glass of water. It's easier to then take the multivitamin. It's then easier to go outside walking. It's easier because you're in a groove of doing the right thing that's moving you towards that goal. And before I dive into something that you can do this week that's going to massively help you with this, I want to touch on the fact that your brain needs evidence and not drama. That a lot of the time, the brain craves big, dramatic change. Because of all the social media that we see people with these amazing transformations. We see people with these big bank accounts. We see these grand changes, and we think that's what change actually looks like. But that's not what change is. Change is all about small, consistent actions that build trust with yourself. That's change. Not the end result. That's what we see on social media. What we don't see is the small steps that led to that outcome. And those small steps were taken by somebody that had confidence in their ability and trusted themselves to do the stuff they know they needed to do. And that's the difference. That's where people go wrong. Because they don't have that confidence within themselves, and they don't know how to get it back. Because for decades they've been lying to themselves and letting themselves down. And they feel rubbish, and they've got such a bad relationship with themselves. So it starts one step at a time. One small action at a time. And each small win is a deposit in the self-trust bank. Your bank, your life, has been built on deposits of self-hate, self-doubt, negativity, lack of trust, no confidence. And all of these small wins, that's just depositing money into the self-trust, the self-confidence, the self-esteem, that I can do it attitude. And that's what we want, because these small wins shows the brain that change is actually happening. Because these small wins don't feel like they're making any real lasting change, but they are. Because each small win shows that you're becoming the person that can do what they say they're going to do. So when you say that you're going to drop 50 pounds, when you say that you're going to create a successful business, you actually believe yourself, rather than just saying, heard this before. So what can you actually do this week to start helping you on this journey? Start an evidence journal. So an evidence journal is just every time you make a small promise to yourself and you keep it, write it down. But don't just write down what you did. Here's the key thing. Write how it felt to actually follow through and keep that promise with yourself. Because that's the key. It's that feeling. You're noticing, wow, it actually feels really good to do this. And that then, once again, breeds that confidence, and it breeds that momentum we spoke about. And then once you've started to do this, track the ripple effect. Track how that one action led to other positive actions. If you've taken any value from today's episode, don't forget to share it with a friend. Help us to spread the word to help as many people as possible. Until next time, take it easy.